Hi, my name's Michelle. I live in Waltham Forest and I have a son who has asthma. At about 4 or 5, we were finally referred to a paediatrician at the Royal London Hospital, and he's been under their care ever since. When he was so young, we were still trying to sound out what his triggers were. So it was very difficult because he's got lots of allergies as well. So, for instance, he's allergic to all pollen. So, this time of the year, in kind of June or July, any seasonal changes will trigger his asthma. He had to understand his triggers himself, which took time because going from a child to a young person, again, he didn't want to be seen having his spacer because that wasn't cool. So sometimes as he got older, even though he acknowledged his chest was getting tighter, he didn't want to take out the big spacer and start giving himself his inhaler. So he would wait. That would make it worse. So when he got home, it would be quite bad at that point. And then we also had like a care plan. Your GP generally gives you a care plan, or your asthma nurse. An asthma attack for Josh would look like, it varies. So sometimes for me, the biggest kind of alert was the nighttime cough. So he would cough over and over again at night, and it would be a dry, raspy cough, and he just wouldn't be able to get on top of it. So that was always a trigger for me, more trigger for me than it would be for him, because he obviously wouldn't know that his asthma symptoms are starting. Um, so that would be lead me into the morning, and then he'd probably be quite poorly by the morning. I remember when he was quite young, he was having a silent asthma attack, and to this day, I actually don't know what that really looks like. I just remember taking him to the GP surgery and being rushed in an ambulance, which we've done like hundreds of times in his lifetime. He's only 16, where he wasn't breathing properly. Um, and that was the most scariest because I didn't even pick that up. Another kind of issue aside from that is also kind of when you'd call up to get advice, the color of his skin as well also impacted what advice we'd get. So, is he blue? No, because he's black. And questions like that. And particularly as a mom, you're panicking because your child's not breathing properly, or he's really sick as well. So that I also found that a bit of a barrier to calling up and getting advice. Say learning curve for Joshua is kind of empowering them to recognize their symptoms, to understand what their triggers are, and to either they're old enough to address it with an inhaler, the right inhaler, or equally to let someone know that they're not feeling very well. Because sometimes it could be, he used to have this thing where it wasn't necessarily his chest, it was his stomach. And he would say to me, "Oh, mum, my stomach's really hurting me." But that's because he's not getting it was his ribs, and he wasn't getting the air in or something. And there are triggers other than the chest that they may recognize or not recognize. So you've also got to be aware of that, and don't rest if you feel you know your child better than anybody else would. You know how they feel, how they speak. Another thing is when they get really breathless and they can't even put a sentence together. These are the triggers that you should be aware of as well. And yeah, I mean, on my fridge, I used to have, and I still do, like his asthma plan. So that just kind of reminds me of, if he's a bit wheezy, how many puffs to give him. If those puffs don't work, I can up it. If that puff doesn't work, I can up it again. If I get over or surpass a certain amount of puffs, which might be 10, might be subjective. Like other people will have different amounts depending on their body weight. Then we know it's an A&E call, it's a 111 call, or it's an emergency. Monitor the nocturnal cough. I know symptoms are very different for different people. I would say, just believe your child when they say how they feel. Sometimes the symptoms are just not obvious. And I've heard Josh has come with so many different triggers that you would never even associate with his chest. But no, now knowing what I know, it's related to his chest, particularly the stomach issue, and the pain and discomfort in his stomach. Hi.